I like tweaking. I think that has a different context in many other places. I like to tweak things. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I love to talk about books. But today I'm going to talk about the books that I will not be reading in the rest of this year. But before I get onto that, apologies for not putting up a midweek video this week. This is my last week in my current job. Actually, as I film this, my penultimate day in my current job, and it's just been mayhem trying to wrap up a year-long project which has still got some continuation to do, so I'm having to hand it over to someone else, and I just a bit like how I look today. Actually, it's actually roasting at the moment, and I've had to shut the windows because there's builders at my next door neighbour's house and they are making so much noise. And so now I just feel like I am recording this in a sauna. I did consider just taking off all my clothes to film this and do my usual habit of filming from like mid-chin up. But I'm trying to get away from that, as you can see, trying to work on my framing. So, and I will save you having to see naked me from the tatas up. So anyway, why am I making this video? So last week, no, it's 2 weeks ago, I shared my mid-year freak out tag. And now we're at, well, past the mid-year point. That tag and everything has got me thinking and reflecting on my reading. So I just kind of wanted to expand on that. Because at the start of the year, I had a goal to read 100 books this year, and also 2 reading challenges, both of which have over 50 prompts. And although I doubled up on those prompts as much as I could to leave room for other books and book club reads and NetGalleys, I am having to kind of reassess my plans a little bit. As of now, which like we're into the 3rd week of July, I've read 49 books this year, and I've currently got another 2 on the go. So I'm actually roughly on track for getting to the 100 books, which is amazing considering as I had like a 2-month reading slump. And I probably will complete my challenges as well. But when I was making my 2021 reading plans, I hadn't factored in the BookTube prize. So far that's 6 extra books, possibly more if I go on to judge the final. And then I joined Scott and Nell's Read Under the Bed book club, which I've had to duck out of because of being behind. And I would quite like to get back into that. And then I've requested far too many NetGalleys as usual. I've got to be realistic and cut some of the books off the plan that I started the year with. Prioritise the ones I'd more rather read, and or take out some books that weren't for challenges, so I'm still able to complete those. I'm thinking that this might be the last year that I do reading challenges, but I'll decide that later in the year. But what I thought I would do is I'd share what those books that I'm no longer going to be reading are. And it's just not that I will never read them. It's not a judgment on the book itself. It's just that realistically I won't get to them this year. So I'll start with the ones that I'm not heartbroken about taking off my list. The first one of which is Carry On Warrior by Glennon Doyle. This is on my Kindle, so it's not taking up any physical shelf space because I'm always on a mission to try and get my physical unread books down. It's getting there slowly. Well, I've done a lot of hauls this year. But I read her book Untamed in December last year, and I'd actually bought this book, I think, before that. Untamed was okay. I didn't get as much from it as I had hoped that I would, so I'm not in a particular rush to get into any more of her books quite so soon. The next one is Everything I Never Wanted to Be by Diana Kuchera. This is also on my Kindle and it has been forever. I think I probably bought this when I first started using Kindles way back in like 2011 or something. It's a memoir of generational addiction and general bad times. And it was written by, is she a comedian or like an aspiring comedian? It does sound interesting. I'd forgotten what it was about until I looked at it this year, but it's not a must read for me. And also not a must read for me is Read Harder, which is an anthology of pieces from The Believer, which I don't even know if that's like a website or a magazine. I've got 2 Read Harder anthologies. My mum picked my mum, bless her, my mum picked them up for me instead of the Read Harder journal, which is a Book Riot reading journal. Which she did then go on to get me. I think it was like for Christmas or something. So with these ones, like I didn't ask them or anything like that. I might give them a go at some point, but again, I'm in no rush to get to them. The next few, I guess I am a bit sad that I won't be getting to, but they will be read next year for sure. So it's not a goodbye, it's a see you later. The first one is What Alice Forgot by Leanne Moriarty. It's on my bookshelf upstairs. And this actually sounds really interesting. It's about Alice, who is 29 years old. She is crazy about her husband, totally in love, and she's pregnant with her first child. But when she comes to on the floor of, I think it's a gym, she finds that she is 39, she's got 3 children, and she's getting divorced, which sounds amazing to me. And I have enjoyed Leanne Moriarty's Big Little Lies. Love that. I read The Husband's Secret last year by her and I didn't love it quite so much. So yeah, there's no desperate rush to get to this. It can wait. Then the next one is, I do have it down here, The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake by Amy Bender. I read her book The Butterfly Lampshade last year, and I know that Anne Bogle, who is the presenter for the What Shall I Read Next podcast, raved about this book, and I really like her taste. Speaking about taste, this is a story about a girl who can taste people's emotions in the food that they make. But I mean, that sounds lovely. I quite like her style of, it's very light magical realism, but I just don't have space for it. The next one was going to be a library book, and it was The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich. What hasn't helped is that the particular library that I was going to get this from, because I'm a member of 3 different ones, they are still not allowing reservations, what with all the COVID stuff going on. So that has forced my hand a bit. And I do plan on reading this author. I've not read any of her stuff before yet, but Danny from Spinelli Speaks has talked really highly of her, and I think her latest book, has it just been like nominated for a Pulitzer? I think she's won that before as well. I think all of her books, or majority of her books, focus on the Native American experience, which is something that I'm really keen to read more about, to learn more about. I think maybe Tommy Orange's There is the only book on that subject that I have read. And so The Roundhouse sounds like it's a kind of a coming of age story for a boy from the Ojibwe people who is seeking justice for a crime that's been committed against his family and has caused a lot of devastation. So I will definitely be getting to that one next year. And then I have When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. And I know that this is really beloved. It's a memoir by a brain surgeon on his own experience of being a patient when he is dying of cancer, which obviously that is going to be a really sad read. And that's kind of why I've moved it onto this to be read next year list, because I'm reading A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and I'm not sure I want to read two majorly emotionally traumatic books within the space of, you know, a couple of months of one another. This next little group of books, they're off the list for now, but if I do miraculously find space to add books back into my reading this year, these will be the ones that I'm picking from, and if not, they will definitely be the priority for the very start of next year. Can't believe I'm already talking about 2022. So the first is Happens Every Day by Isabel Gillis. This is one of like divorcing a cheater memoirs that I bought kind of the end of last year to help me with healing from what I'm going through. I'm annoyed I don't have space for these because I think they could be really, really helpful right now. And on that note, the next book is similar. It's Perfection by Julie Metz, who her particular story is that she finds out her husband was cheating on her after he has died. Also on that topic of healing, I had hoped to read, and in fact, I think, yes, in fact, I think these are all, going to come up in this, but I was really hoping to read Just Another Mountain by Sarah Jane Douglas. This is about how she used walking in the mountains to cope with the death of her mother. And the mountains in question in this book just happen to be in Scotland, and you know that's my thing. I'm so embarrassed by this now, but I'd hoped to walk the West Highland Way this year. My progressively deteriorating fitness makes this even more funny. I can't believe I even thought by this point I would be ready to do that. So this was kind of meant to be inspiring for that. But maybe it's better off that I read it next year when hopefully I've shaken off the kind of lockdown slug likeness and a few stone in weight as well, and just got generally in a better place to try and tackle a walk like that. And then there was also Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This has been on my radar for so long. It pained me to take it off my list for this year. It's a fictional retelling of a woman who was tried and possibly executed for murder in Iceland in, I think, the 1800s. People have loved this, and I'm sure I will when I eventually get to it. And one of the other ones I just picked off my trolley. Go on another. I know. How can I possibly take this off? And I really didn't want to. I tried everything to make it fit my remaining challenge prompts, but it just doesn't. This is the Booker winner, the only real Booker winner of, was it 2019? What is time? I don't know. And I think it's 12 women or people's stories. And I have literally never heard anyone ever say a bad word about this, or kind of any of her books, actually. And I do own 2 others of her books. Funnily enough, also not reading those this year. And then, what have we got next? Black and British by David Olusoga. And please don't look at me like that. I know that this is a really important book. And reading about race is still very much a priority for me. So far this year, I've read 3 non-fiction books on the topic, plus memoirs and fiction as well, you know, which focus on the issue of race already this year. And I've got more to come, and it's just that something had to come off the list, really. Which also goes for, did I pick this one up? Yes, I did. Maggie and Me by Damien Barr, which I'm gutted about because I love him. And why wouldn't I be excited to read a memoir about a gay boy growing up in Thatcherite, decimated Scotland? Gutted I don't have space for that this year. And then another Scottish memoir that I don't have a space for this year is Red Dust Road by Jackie Kay. Jackie Kay was adopted, and I believe her birth parents were, one was Scottish and one was Nigerian. So this is her story of discovering herself, discovering her heritage, and what it was like to grow up with a different skin colour from her family. So yeah, again, really sad about not getting to that one. And then The Collected Schizophrenias by Esmond Wei-Jung Wang. I have wanted to read this for ages. I swear, revisiting this list is killing me. I didn't really think it through when I was cutting these books out, but this is Essays on Living with Schizoaffective Disorder, and it's from the female perspective, which I think is incredibly rare. Whenever I hear schizophrenia talked about, it's normally with men, so yeah. And then I have Wintering, a novel of Sylvia Plath by Kate Moses. And when I took this off my list, this is quite an easy one to do because I thought I'd be reading, as a Red Comet, can't remember who it's by, it'll be up on the screen. I thought I'd be reading that for the BookTube prize, and I still might if it makes the final, because I'm going to reread The Bell Jar in my project Everlasting Love this year. So I thought that would be a really good companion read. So what I might do is leave Bell Jar to like the final book of the year, or or before that if it comes up for the BookTube final, if Red Comet gets through and I get assigned it. But if not, I'll leave the Bell Jar for my very last read of the year, and then make Wintering my first read of the next year, so I can still do that companion read. So this has been an incredibly depressing video, and I don't know how to feel. I'm really hoping I get space to at least bring some of these back into my reading list, because this is just off the books that I had started the year saying I wanted to read. This doesn't even incorporate books that I'm not getting to get to this year that I have since bought or been gifted. And there's loads of really good books in those piles as well. And I think it's really made me reassess how I approach my reading. I literally never get the chance to mood read because, and a big part of it is because I do these reading challenges, so I have to make sure that I get to books. And I did start out wanting to do the around the year reading challenge like in order. I think I've mainly stuck to that, but I think year-long reading challenges suited me before I was doing BookTube, and especially they are definitely what revived my reading as in this stage of my adulthood, because before I started doing those, I think the year before I did my first ever Pop Sugar reading challenge, I'd only managed to read something crazy like 10 books in the year, which I can on a good month, a very good month. I can get through that in a month now, and that's all because of doing these reading challenges. So I don't have any regrets, and I would definitely wave the flag for reading challenges. But I think to where I am at the moment, and particularly because I'm becoming so much more aware of all the new shiny things in a way that I didn't ever before, I think I need to, maybe this could be my theme for 2022, is just like a year of mood reading. I kind of like that idea, because I think I've hemmed myself in far too much, and I am missing out on things that I feel really jealous when I see other people doing them, like reading the latest big book. Because yes, I do read new releases through NetGalley, and I've read really great books in NetGalley. I'm pretty consistent at picking really good books from NetGalley, but for some reason they are never the ones that get like the big promotional push. They're never the ones that get nominated for the awards, although Unsettled Ground, I think you'll find that I read that first. But yeah, like sometimes I would just like to read a buzzy book. I don't think that makes me like a trendy wannabe or anything like that, but so I miss out on that. I miss out on doing things like seasonal reads. Like I cannot tell you the times where not that I'm doing that this year, but when I've sat by the pool and read books that were just completely inappropriate for the setting. I've read books that were set in like Alaska whilst I was sitting by a pool in Corfu, and that just, there's something a bit odd about that. I don't know if I would necessarily go in for Christmas themed reads, but you know, just little things like that. Or to see someone saying, oh, I'm going to be reading this book, does anyone want a buddy read with me? And I can't count the amount of times I've been like, oh, I'd love to read that book with them, but I can't fit it in at the moment. And it would be nice to be able to be like, I would love to read that book. Yeah, let's buddy read it. So yeah, I think I need more flexibility in my reading. So if this is the year where I've realized that rigidity does not serve me anymore, 2022, I'm just going to throw it out the window completely and mood read the whole year. I don't know how that will work with book clubs and NetGalley, but for the majority of my reading, just going to mood read and go completely the opposite of what I have been doing. And then I can see if that works, and that's amazing. If it doesn't work, I'll have to find a middle ground. But that's the fun of being a reader, is that I like tweaking. I think that has a different context in many other places. I like to tweak things and play with my reading, because yes, I learn through reading, but reading is also a form of play. So that's what I'm going to do after I've picked up this pile of books that are at my feet, which is not my idea of play. But hey ho, at least for most of them, they won't be coming off the bookshelves again until next year. So what I would love to know from you guys is, what is your approach to reading? Are you structured? Are you a mood reader? Are you somewhere in between? Do you have a way to manage it, or do you not even bother with that? Do you track? Do you keep a record? All of these sorts of things. I do always love to hear about how people read, and also how are you getting on with any reading goals that you set yourself this year? Are you on track to hit them? Are you not, but you're going to keep going on them anyway because it's fun? Or have you just given up on them completely? I would love to know that as well. I know that Emily from Novelle Novels has had similar discussions recently about how she's been looking at her reading goals and things. So you should definitely check out her channel if you're interested in this sort of thing as well. I think she's swaying more to mood rather than goals and challenges as well. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what shape your reading life is taking and whether that shape has changed. I would love to know. And until next week, where I will have started my new job and maybe freaking out and overheating for completely different reasons. Bye!